And this is Dan with Syntax, and today we're going to continue on with our Git lessons. This is going to be Git Part 2, and we're going to focus on the remote repository side of using Git. If you hadn't watched the first Git video, I strongly suggest that you do so. We'll be continuing on from there with that previous lesson and even using the same Java project within Eclipse as well as an example. So please go ahead and watch that, practice, and when you're done and ready, come to this video. Alright, well, let's get started. What is a remote repository? Well, remote repository is simply another storage device, another container that is not attached to our local system, our local machine. It's typically on a website or a web application. For our purposes, we're going to be using GitHub, very popular. Another one is Bitbucket that comes to mind, and there's many, many more. But these are the two really common and popular ones. Now, why do we need a remote repository? What is it used for? Well, there's a few different things. We can save and store our work that we've worked on in our Eclipse projects, right? So let's say I'm doing work and I want to save it, and I can push my code, which means I can take my code from my Eclipse project and put it in this remote repository here on the website. And why that is important is because let's say something happens to my local machine and I don't have any backups, as crazy as that sounds, and my machine's lost forever, and so is my work. And if I'm at work in the field and I'm expecting, to deliver something, or my coworkers are expecting something from me, and I don't have it anymore, that's a big issue. As well as it allows me to use code from my coworkers as well. If they're working on something that I need, once they push it to GitHub, I can take it from here and put it into my own project and continue on with work. Also, this Git is a version control tool as well. So it's storing as well as all my commits, and I can revert those commits as well as I can in the command line, but I can also revert these commits and make my project an earlier version if I need to, if something happens and our project gets messed up. Those are some just the really quick important reasons why Git is such an important tool. There's many more, and we could talk about this for a long time, but you guys will see here continuing on, especially when you get more experience. And we're going to continue on to the next portion here. So we're going to say how to create a remote repository. So first things first, we're going to go to GitHub. That's the one we're going to be using. We're going to sign in. Here we go. Alright, here we are. So we have a few different ways we can do it. We can either select this new option here. We can go to your own profile. You can go to repositories, and you can select new as well. I just prefer, for me, I'll just select the new option here. So I select new. Now we can create a repository. So as we did in our last video, we've already committed and we've worked on, we have code, we've done a lot with this project, and now I want to put it into my remote repository. We can name this anything, but again, we want to do good naming conventions. It's just best to use the project name as your repository name. So we're going to go ahead and do so. We're going to name it, again, Git Basics. Now you have this little check mark here. What this is doing is looking at my other repositories to make sure that I don't already have a Git Basics being used. So it's letting me know that this name is available. I'm getting the green check. Now I have a few different options here. So we can either choose public or private. That's just letting us know who can access this repository. So I want to make this public for now. Now we also have this option here, which is initialize this repository with a README file, right? With README. So we don't need to do that, right? So in our last video, we went ahead and created this project, put some code. We've already initialized this, and we've already committed and did everything we need to do, right? So last step for us really is just to push it to a new repository. So I don't need that just yet, or I don't need it at all for that matter. So I'm good with all these options, and I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And here we go. So as you can see here, if you chose to use the initialize with README file, it would look a little bit different, but we didn't choose that. So this is what it looks like without choosing that option. And we've already done this, right? We've already done initialized, we've already committed, we've done everything we need to do in the last video. So all that's left is just 2 more steps, just these 2 little lines of code, or same thing here as well. So what we're going to do is go to our terminal, and we're going to make sure we're in our home directory. Right now I'm in my Eclipse workspace, but we'll start fresh. We're going to do cd tilde, make sure I'm in home directory, and then I'm going to clear. Alright, well here we go. So we're going to do ls, and we see here that we have Eclipse workspace. So I'm going to travel to the Eclipse workspace, and we're going to navigate there. Eclipse workspace. Let's do pwd just to make sure. Yes, we are. ls. Okay, we see Git Basics. I want to navigate to Git Basics. Okay, so cd Git Basics, pwd, and we are there. So I'm going to clear this out so we can see a little bit better. So now I'm here. Now the last steps here when it comes to remote repository, we've now created this. Now we have to do this line of code here. This is saying git remote add origin. So what this is saying is basically, hey Git, this is the remote repository. I want you to add it, and this is where you can find it. This is the location of the project where I want you to send everything, okay? So think of this as like an address, so to speak. So you can hit this option, which is you can copy it to your clipboard. You can type it out if you want to. I suggest you highlight and copy, and then we're going to paste. If you mess up anything in here, misspelling, it's a nightmare. So it's just safer when you first set up your remote repositories. Just go ahead and copy it straight from GitHub. Let it do the work for you, and we're going to do that here. So we're going to go ahead and paste. And there we go. It was as simple as that. Go ahead and linking my remote repository to my existing Git Basics. Now we can test the connection. Let's test it. There's this command called git remote v. Let's see this. Now we can see here that it's saying that I can either push my code or I can fetch, or other known as pull. So this let me know that if you see this, let me know that I have now connected to my GitHub remote repository. Alright, so now all that's left is to use this line. Now this line is saying git push. So it's saying, hey Git, I want you to take all of my code and push it into my remote repository, right? And what this is saying is this -u, don't worry about what that means for now. You only have to do that once. So we're going to do git push origin master, right? So we want this, you can see up here, when we talk about branches, this branch is master. It's the first thing we do. It's just one branch name. That's the name of the branch that we're using. We can create other branches. We'll talk about that later. But basically, this is just the code for now that we need. We're going to copy. We'll go to the terminal. We're going to paste. All right. Now we see here that we are done. It went ahead and pushed my entire project to GitHub. Let's double check. So let's go ahead and refresh our remote repository, and here we are. We see, we come here to source.com, we see my test1 and my test2, and we even see the code inside my test1. We can click in here, learning Git, making a change, go to test1 over here. Same thing, right? Now we just pushed our work from our local machine, right? Our local repository, from our project within Eclipse, and put it here into our remote repository. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now, let's say I want to make another change. Let's go to test 2. Let's just say I'm going to type in We'll say making a change for remote repo. Okay. So we'll make this bigger for you guys. So we say, again, we're going to put a little system out or print line saying making a change for remote repo. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save. Now I'm going to bring up my terminal. Let's clear this out. So we're good, and we still see here that I'm in Git Basics. So let's go ahead and check our status. I made a change. Let's see what's going on. Let's do Git status, and we see here that I have modified test2, right? So we're going to do git add all. We can do git status again just to make sure we got it, and we see here that it is now green. It is accepted. It's now tracking this change. And then we're going to commit this now. So, okay, we're going to do git commit, little -m, space, and we're going to put a message. I'm going to say, I'll say committing change to, let's say, test2. All right. Okay, there we go. We see that our files have been changed, and now let's push this. Okay, so we can, instead of doing the git, what can you show here? Instead of doing this command here, we don't need to do git push, the -u. We don't need that. All we need is just git push origin master for now. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of this. We don't need to do that anymore, and then we're gonna go ahead and push. And there we go. It is now pushed. Let's go ahead and double check. All right, now we got 3 commits. Let's go ahead and check our project here. Let's go to test2. And you can see I'll go back there. You see here the code that I just made. We push that, and we can even see here, even showing the latest commit message as well. And we can see here I'm working off the branch master. If we had created different branches, we would do git push origin, whatever branch name we were using. But like I said, at defaulted, we're using master, so just be using the master location for now. All right, let's go back. Okay, there we go. We'll go here. All right, now let's go ahead and refresh. We see my Git Basics here now. And then again, we're back here, and you can see all 3 commits. Remember the first lesson, we made our first commit, our second commit, and then now we just went ahead and created this new commit. Okay, so that is how we create a remote repository. That is how we check the connection by using the command. We'll clear this out. That's by using the command git remote v. We can check the connection that way, and we see here good connection. And that is, again, guys, how we push code. So remember, when we push code, it's always, let's write this down here. It's always, when we're here, we're making sure we're within our project first off, right? So we're making sure within the project. So we'll go to CD here, we'll clear. So now I'm in my home directory. So if I want to push any code or work with my project, I know I need to navigate to my Eclipse project within my Eclipse workspace folder, my Eclipse workspace folder or directory. So I'm going to navigate there. Okay, now that I'm in my Eclipse workspace, now I need to get to my project that I'm working with, right? So CD, Basics, now I'm here. I can do PWD just to be sure. We're perfect, awesome. Let's clear, and here we go. Now that I'm here, again guys, the steps as always, we can check the status by saying git status. Then we would do git add. We can do git add all. Or we can do git add then the file the file name, right? That's how by adding it one by one, as we discussed in the previous video. Once we have that, we can go ahead and do git commit -m and then leave a message. And then finally, now that we went ahead and created that first push, you know what we'll mention here? Now that we set everything up and we created the push, now all we have to say is git push origin master, and make sure this is spelled correctly. If it's capitalized, don't do that. Just make it spelled absolutely correct. You don't have to create any different branches, and that's just the best way to go about it. Just get in the habit of making sure everything you do is spelled correctly. When we're working with Java, things tend to be case sensitive, so it's great to get in that habit, and it's going to save you a headache in the long run. So that is how we do that, guys. We went ahead and created a remote repository. We linked our remote repository to an existing project, and we even committed changes and pushed them into our project. Now, let's go ahead and show you one last thing, guys. I want to show you how to clone a project. I want to show you how that we can take an existing project that we do not have and bring it within our workspace here. I'm going to show you how to do so. So let's go to the project that I want to clone. Now we can see here we have this option that says clone or download. We can either do a download it as a zip file, and once that downloads, we'd have to unzip the file, place it within our Eclipse workspace. Then we have to import it. It's a little bit of more steps, but the best way to do it and do it through the command line, in my opinion, is this. What we're going to do is we're going to copy the URL here, or we can just hit the clipboard and it would have saved it to the clipboard as well. Then we're going to go to our terminal. Okay, so I need to get to my Eclipse workspace, not within my Git basics, right? Because I don't put projects within a project. So I need to go back one, and how we do so is cd space ... Now I'm within my Eclipse workspace. I want to add a new project, okay? So I went ahead and I copied that URL once I clicked this clone button. So now all I have to do is simply put in git clone and then paste that URL, and there we see that's done. Now let's do ls to be sure. Now do you see I have git clone example? Now all that's left that we have to do is import it into our Eclipse IDE, and how we do so is we can just right click here, which is the easiest way to do it, or you can go up here and choose new and then do it that way. But I like to do import here, right click over here. I'll do it again. In our package explorer or project explorer, you can just right click, import, go to general. We're going to select existing project into workspace. Select next. Then it's going to ask me, hey, which project do you want me to select? Where is it? So I'm going to show it. I'm going to say, okay, I want this clone example. That's the name of the project, right? I'm going to hit open. Finish. And there we go, guys. I now have a clone of that project. And we can even open up the class here in the package. We see, look, this is a clone project. Let's double check. Same code and everything, guys. Well, that's it. So that's how, again, we create a remote repository, how we push code that we're working on into a remote repository, and also how do we clone an existing project and pull it within our workspace. Well, guys, that's all from me. Happy coding. Have a good one.